What is a childhood coping method you unknowingly developed only to realize later that it wasn't normal?
Eating too fast. I remember noticing this even as a child still. I was always done first. And I never outgrew it. Neglect and abondment issues.
I learned to lie rather convincingly. I was petrified of getting in trouble for the smallest things that I learned to hide quite a bit. I had such high anxiety as a kid.
Cleaning or doing things behind the scenes for my family, so they're always happy, life goes smoothly and my life is serene. The latter isn't the case unfortunately, I'm exhausted and always on edge.
Saying I am sorry all the time.
Hiding in the closet.
Dissociation and maladaptive daydreaming, I just learned that's an actual thing with a name.
Shutting down when faced with confrontation.
I'd pull out my eyelashes.
Making my voice as monotone as possible to prevent people, my parents, from picking up on any tiny hint of emotion. My parents would lose their shit if I had a tone or sounded upset in any way. It's taken years and years of practice to regain some emotion in my voice again.
I can't have an aspiration or a dream because I don't want to disappoint myself. Like, I can't even say that I am gonna get a good grade on a specific subject out loud, cause I am scared I will disappoint myself. Same thing with other things in life. When I apply for a specific college, I will just do it and ignore it until I get a result, because I don't want to get my hopes up and end up not getting accepted. I can't even have a New Year's resolution cause somehow I think I would fail, and I would rather already expect that than get my hopes up and fail. I am scared of being disappointed in myself.
Listening for the smallest sounds. Before I was old enough and had enough money to move out, when I was a teen I could hear the faint sound of the garage door opening because it would always squeak when it opens, and then I would bolt upstairs to my room because the garage opening meant that my mom was home. I can distinguish her footsteps easily. I developed a hypersensitivity to sound because of her.
Blocking out all background noise to avoid emotional damage from whatever's going on.
Escaping into my head. I don't do it much anymore, but as a kid and teen I lived there. I can also walk into a room and sense immediately if something is about to go down, and spot dodgy people on the street from a block away. My wife on the other hand is completely oblivious.
Trying to think/mentally prepare myself for every possible horrible thing that could happen to me, so that if it did, I wouldn't be blindsided. It didn't work. I want to add that my mother died in a freak accident when I was a boy and I was blindsided. My coping mechanism was to prepare for situations where a friend or family member is killed out of the blue, etc., so I wouldn't be caught off guard again. It caused me severe stress and the inability to relax ever. I am older now and therapy has done wonders for me.
Assuming people are mad at me based on their vocal tone.
Not doing anything till the last minute, so I feel pressured to do it, and when I finish doing it I feel useful.
Constantly daydreaming about a better life that I actually didn't have the ability to attain.
Having 3 or 4 different responses ready for every conversation in advance just to prepare for what might come. My therapist told me this isn't as normal as I thought it was, and apparently other people don't prepare this much for regular, everyday conversations. Update: wow. This really blew up. Thanks, internet strangers, for the prizes. My next appointment I'm going to tell my therapist that 16,000 internet strangers do the same thing, so maybe it is a little bit normal.
Oh man, where do I start? Automatic tears when anyone of authority makes me feel small, feeling embraced/uncomfortable, crying in front of others, not being able to confide in anyone due to risk of being judged, completely shutting down when I feel someone is angry at me, fight or flight response to any kind of conflict, constant need to please people, crippling fear of failing.
Dunno if it was a coping mechanism so much as a survival tactic. I walk on the balls/toes of my feet all the time. If I'm barefooted, my heels never touch the ground unless I'm standing still. Quietness was the objective. Edit: thank you all for the awards. My notifications have blown up, so it won't let me scroll enough to thank everybody personally, it just freezes. If we are all so quiet, how are there so many people that just stomp around?
Always being okay having your decisions overridden by others and believing they know best. Examples: for birthdays, we'd get to pick a restaurant to eat at. I'd pick a place, and usually my sister would complain and my parents would override. Being asked what I'd want for Christmas and being told, no you don't, when you tell them what you want. Like I was super into astronomy growing up. When I asked for a telescope more than once, I was told I didn't want it. So I started to believe I didn't want one. Edit: I did not expect this to hit home for so many. You are all awesome, and I can't reply to everyone. It is hard to work through the feelings of not good enough or your choices don't matter. It can be super uncomfortable at the time you assert yourself, but it is worth it. I am working with a psychologist on this and other things. You all have this. I believe in you. Don't worry all, I got a telescope when I went into uni. I have had it for over 10 years now.
Constantly trying to preempt or defuse situations. Always checking the mood of the room. Pretending laughter to lighten up my parents' interactions. Edit: defuse/diffuse.
Mine was food hoarding. I'd sneak food and water into my room for when I had none. Only realized this year that most people don't have stashes of food hidden around the place.
Shutting down emotional responses and forcing myself to not care about any perceived loss. Apparently it made it pretty annoying to discipline me, because I would suddenly stop caring about anything that was threatened to be taken away. Nobody really taught me how to properly cope with loss when it started happening, and I guess my response was emotional repression.
Maladaptive daydreaming. Much to my surprise, at 29, I discovered that most people can't escape into their minds and go on adventures with full storylines, world building, characters, etc.
Looking for signs, such as micro-expressions, about what kind of a mood the other one is in. My therapist told me not all people do this, and I do it a lot. He also told me I developed it because I was always on the lookout on the mood of my often angry, drunken stepdad.
I become too friendly too soon with other and often invade other personal bubble, which makes me a little annoying sometimes. Just discovered this about myself, prob due to my lack of friends in childhood and subsequently adulthood, due to my nature of job.
Binge eating. My mom is a chef and so is my brother, so the food was always good, but then living on my own I found myself making meals for 2 to 3 people, but eating it all, then snacks. I think it was also the you have to finish your plate deal too.
Apparently, I do something called dissociating, where I get so deep in thought that I don't hear anything else around me. Drives my wife nuts. Also, just found out I have binge eating disorder. I eat in secret sometimes and overeat. Comes from my childhood and not knowing where my next meal would come from. On my way to resolving both. Crossed fingers.
I can cut people out of my life and stop caring about people at the snap of my fingers, and I do it far too often to people who sometimes may not deserve it to keep myself safe.